ਸਿਟੀ ਆਫ ਟੋਰਾਂਟੋ ਦੇ ਮੇਅਰ ਦੇ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਹੋਣ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹੈ 26 ਜੂਨ ਨੂੰ। ਇਟਸ ਅ ਕਰਾਊਡਡ ਰੇਸ। 43 ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟਸ ਹਾਲੇ ਤੱਕ ਮੈਦਾਨ 'ਚ ਨਿਕਲ ਚੁੱਕੀ ਹੈ। ਬਾਈ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨਸ ਹੈ ਸਿਟੀ ਆਫ ਟੋਰਾਂਟੋ ਦੇ ਔਰ 43 ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟਸ ਚੋਂ ਵਨ ਆਫ ਦਾ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਇਜ਼ ਐਕਸ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਚੀਫ ਆਫ ਟੋਰਾਂਟੋ ਮਾਰਕ ਸੌਂਡਰਸ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੌਜੂਦ ਹੈ। ਸ਼ੋਅ 'ਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਸਵਾਲ ਜਵਾਬ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਰੇਟ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਪ੍ਰਾਇੋਰਟੀਜ਼ ਕੀ ਰਹੂਗੀਆਂ ਅਗਰ ਉਹ ਮੇਅਰ ਦੀ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਜਿੱਤ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਉਹ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਨੂੰ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਆ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ TTC 'ਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਵਾਇਲੈਂਸ ਵੀ ਦੇਖੀ ਹੈ, ਰਿਪੀਟਿਡ ਅਫੈਂਡਰਸ ਵੀ ਦੇਖੇ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਬੀਇੰਗ ਏ ਐਕਸ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਚੀਫ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ 37 ਸਾਲ ਦਾ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਹੈ ਪੁਲਿਸਿੰਗ 'ਚ ਔਰ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ 2015 ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ 2020 ਤੱਕ ਟੋਰਾਂਟੋ ਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਐਕਸ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਚੀਫ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰਹੇ ਹੈ। Mr. Saunders, welcome to Prime Asia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chopra.
Mr. Saunders, you are running for a crowded race. 43 candidates already announced their nomination for this by-election in Toronto as a post for the post of mayor. So why you are running for this post of the mayor?
Well, thank you for asking. Listen, I was a police officer for 38 years, and I knew the whole city from side to side, north, south, east, and west. And I know the city better than anyone else. But what my concern is, Toronto used to be known as a safe city and as a clean city. And I've watched over the years that it has shifted in the wrong direction. I believe that city politics is moving in the wrong direction, and they need a leader. They need a leader to bring the city back to where it should be, where the city can be safe, where it can be clean. And that is going to be my number one issue, and that's why I'm running.
Mr. Saunders, you were the ex-police chief from 2015 to 2020. So if you become a mayor, so what are the few things you will be your priorities, which you think being a police chief, because that's a different post, you were not able to do that and you can do as a head of the city as a mayor?
Yeah, so as police chief, I take crime safety as a house. And, as the chief, I only had one tool. I had a saw. Now becoming mayor, I will have all of the tools to build that strong house that is sustainable. So having access to all of those agencies will give me the opportunity to work collectively with all of City Council to make this city safe, and we will do that. But the second issue, we need to have that discussion about housing and affordable housing and supportive housing. So those are the top two things that I'll be looking at. And how I will do that will be working with all of the agencies right across the board, especially with law enforcement, to make sure that it is a clean, a safe city. And we know that this city is one of the biggest cities, the fourth largest city on the North American continent. This is where immigrants are coming. They are coming to Canada, and they're coming to Toronto, and they're staying in Toronto. And I need to make sure that the environment is safe, so they have opportunities to come here, to live here, to get jobs, to raise their families, and to live the Canadian dream.
Mr. Saunders, since you had a vast experience in policing, 37 years of policing experience, and we have seen that here in Ontario, or we see in Toronto also, TTC, the crime rate is very high. We have seen stabbings and lot of things, unstoppable violence happening in TTC. What do you think, how can it be controlled with your policing experience, with the mayoral experience? And you said, just now you said, when you were a police chief, you had one tool, but if you won this election, you will have many tools. So yes. How will you plan to control this violence which is happening now?
Well, I'm glad, Mr. Chopra, you asked the question on transit. When I first moved into Toronto, I had no way of getting to and from work. And I had to rely on the buses to get me to and from work. And Toronto has the most robust transit system in Canada. It has to be a primary focus with City Council. I will make it a priority. And in order to keep it safe, there are a couple of things that I will need to do. First and foremost, having more visibility of the special constables. I will have them riding the trains. And when people see that they're on the trains, they'll feel safer. And also people that are out there that want to do things not right, it will prevent them from doing that. But the other components that we're going to be adding, one of the things is called an assist button. So a lot of times we see people that are on trains, they may be talking loud and getting boisterous, and you don't necessarily need the police coming, you don't need the subway stopped, but you do need someone to deal with that. When you hit this button, the people at Command Center will have a camera, they'll be able to see and they'll be able to determine what resource can come on the train and deal with that situation and reduce that environment of feeling uncomfortable. But right now across the city, people are afraid of riding the subway, and especially our newcomers who have to use the subway every single day. It is government's responsibility. It is their basic responsibility to ensure that citizens of this city are safe. And I'll make sure that I make it a priority and make sure that those subways are going to be safe.
Mr. Saunders, 43 candidates in the race. Whom you think is the biggest challenge for you?
Well, I'm running the campaign on my own platform, and I know that I'm going to be the best mayor because I come with a wealth of experience. No one else in this election has the amount of knowledge or understanding of the communities, of the town hall meetings, of the tools that are necessary to keep our city safe, and also knowing to have strong connections with every single culture that we have. Our city is known as a world within a city. We celebrate inclusion. I know that, I understand that, and I know how to work with people to reach the right solutions better than anybody else. So I'm competing against myself, and I need to make sure that everybody knows exactly what I stand for in order to make this the best city to live in.
Mr. Saunders, we have seen repeated offenders. They are doing the crime. In British Columbia, we have seen that 40 same criminals, they got charged 6,000 times. So demand was for the bail reform, for the changes in the criminal code. Oppositions are demanding that. Opposition leaders are demanding that. Premiers, 13 premiers of Canada, first time they wrote in this regard to the Prime Minister about the bail reforms, about changes in criminal code. Being an ex-police officer, ex-police chief, and now running for this mayoral post, how you think this should be changed, or this is fine, whatever is there?
Well, Mr. Chopra, I can tell you that I'm finally happy that my message that I've been driving since 2019 is finally being heard by leaders of this country. Over and over again, I have spoken about bail reform, how the system right now, it simply does not work. It is putting communities in harm's way. We need proper bail reform. In the city of Toronto, the gun violence, it is so easy for the court system to let these people out back into the streets while the ink is still wet on the paper. It needs to be fixed. It needs to be fixed now because people are losing their lives because of this. We have to act. We have to act now. And as the mayor of the largest city in the country, I will be the strongest advocate. I will have the best opportunity and the best knowledge on how to help convince the federal government to make these changes as soon as possible.
Mr. Saunders, do you think that when police officer, they catch a criminal, and again, for another crime, they catch the same criminal. And again, this process goes on happening 7 times for the bank robbery. They see the same criminal. And police officer, they are also human. Being ex-police chief, do you think the morale of the officers goes down? Because as you said, just mentioned that system is not working. So as a police officers, they have a uniform on that. They have a duty towards the residents, toward the society, to save, to protect them. Is their morale goes down when they see same repeated offenders again and again and system is doing nothing? What do you say on that?
Absolutely. And again, I've been speaking about this for years, and I'm glad that the politicians are starting to listen. What was really frustrating, law enforcement time after time would ask the communities to help, and they would help. And then the communities would get frustrated because once you help and you arrest somebody, and then the next day that same person is out and you helped, you'd look at the police and say, why are you asking us to help if at the end of the day, that criminal is coming right back in our community and committing the same crimes? The courts have to understand their role in community safety. We have to educate them and do whatever is necessary to hold them accountable so that they play an active role in so many of these situations that could be easily avoided.
Mr. Saunders, are you in favor of more funding for the police forces or in favor of defunding the police officers? Because many voices were there for the defunding also. What is your opinion?
No, I've never been in favor of defunding the police. You have to understand the impact that it has in communities, and you have to have an understanding of the impact that it has on law enforcement. When you are a person in authority and you say defund the police, you are telling the criminals that the police don't matter. The criminals start to become bolder, and we have seen that over the course of years. That is not healthy for law enforcement. That's not healthy for the community. The second piece In some of these communities where the gun violence is so high, there are mothers that will not bring their children out into the playground. And their only line of defense for those opportunities of safety is when they see a uniformed presence. When you defund, you reduce those chances of law enforcement to be in those neighborhoods to help keep those communities that have the highest level of crime safe.
Mr. Saunders, your final message to Torontonians, because we also wish you all the best because the election dates are not far. It's on 26th June, 43 candidates in the race. What is your final message to the Torontonians?
My final message is on June 26th. Before that, you're going to hear a lot of noise. But I'm going to tell you that as a former chief of the police, 38 years of public service, working with communities, I am your best choice in making this city safe and keeping it safe. And I'll work collectively with everyone. That will be my number one priority. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity of being your mayor and making this city the fantastic city that it is. And I'm looking forward to June 26th. And I hope that your support will be there. And I hope that I can count on you for voting for me, Mark Saunders, on June 26th.
Mr. Saunders, we wish you all the best for your this new venture and all the good wishes from